So for a thin layer of geometry like this one, I always use my other workflow, which is using the Zmodeler way. The combination of Zmodeler and ZBrush, like this front patch, if you wanted to create this part. What I'm going to do again, I have to go ahead and duplicate my model one more time. The duplicated guy, I'm going to BSI, which is this slice curve. I'm going to slice out the contour of this piece. Now, unfortunately, any slice curve doesn't support symmetric, so you have to kind of like manually. I'm cutting on the top edge in this case. You have to manually mirror it afterwards. There'll be some arc shape here. Maybe cut it further. It is a different color, yeah. I'm gonna cut this guy also, and cut this arc. As you can see, the other side doesn't really update, but it's no problem. I just do this geometry, modify topology, mirror and weld. I have this guy right here. Again, it's underneath geometry, modify topology, mirror and weld. Can do that here, and I can Control Shift and click on this front patch, and to do delete hidden. That's gonna kick the other guys out or deleting them. And then I'm gonna go for a zero measure with a fairly low poly count, like 0.3 or so. And you can also see zero measure right here underneath geometry. And then I'm gonna go for some polishing on this piece. And I kind of wanted this guy to be a little bit rounded on the end, so I'm gonna drag it out like that. And again, use edge polish to polish it a little bit. Okay. Now, when that is done, I'm going to go for zero measure one more time. This time I'm going to check same and zero measure just to make it re-evaluate this piece to get a better topology. As you can see, it's more rounded over here. Now, this topology can even be used in real production for UV texturing because, you know, it's actually fluid enough. But if you wanted to go lower, you can keep doing half and half until you get the result that is simple enough, but I'm just gonna deal with this for now. And then I need to create the thickness, right? I'm gonna go for BZM. I'm gonna go for extrude. BZM is the Zmodeler brush, BZM. And holding down space, use extrude, hover the cursor here, extrude. If you're not familiar with this, this is the hard surface modeling. Hover the cursor on any of the faces, holding down space. You can choose a bunch of options to operate on the face, and you can also choose target. So I'm going to extrude all polygons and extrude them in. The problem is when I extrude them in, the normal is flipped. To fix that, I'm going to go for display properties and say flip. I have a shortcut here too somewhere so that I can quickly go there and do this. So a lot of things need shortcuts in ZBrush. Otherwise, you have to go to all different UI, select, you know, all the different parts. It's just a hassle to do all those things. Anyway, now I'm gonna bevel this guy. It's gonna be using stroke curve action, actually frame mesh, to have a little curve positioned on the edge of every individual polygroup. Hover the cursor when you're using the modeler, of course. Hover the cursor on one of the curve, holding down space, do a bevel, and then click and drag to bevel out that curve. I'm gonna bevel this guy. Maybe just that much. BZM. Again, I'm gonna go hover the cursor on this line, holding down space, use insert single edge loop. That's basically add edge loop in ZBrush. So that way I can start to apply some cool edge loop, tighten the edge up. To smooth preview it, holding down D, press the D button and say always yes. Now we have a very clean piece created. So when I'm happy with that, I'm gonna go back to the design model and use curly build up to push these guys in. Okay, so I have another piece created. Now, of course, sometimes they're not like exactly matching with the original design, so you probably need to go drag things around to match them better. And even the back faces, like I think this one should be like going out a little bit more, so we have some space over here. Let me try this. Control Shift and click on this guy. Mask that. Smooth it. And go get everything back. Invert the mask so that I can drag this guy up. Not gonna work. Anyway, just gonna manually move it. If I was really seeing that before, I probably will tweak it before I do the extrusion. Anyway, so just make this guy longer. The back face doesn't really matter. You can even delete it if you don't want it. But for now, let's keep it actually all solid piece because that's gonna be needed when you do lab building later on when you're adding detail. Okay. The piece like this, I can fill that guy in later on. So that's just one more piece. I'm gonna do the same thing for this patch. Right? So again, I just need to go ahead and duplicate my model one more time. For this new model, let me actually create this entire piece. So I'm just gonna go lazy this time. Use slice curve. Slice out this entire top part. Just shift and click on it, do a delay hidden. And then I'm gonna go for a zero mesher. Lower down the poly count. I'm gonna go for another tool we use a lot, which is deformation, and we can drag this guy up called polish by feature. It's gonna smooth out the edge. Okay. Yeah, let's see. I'm gonna smooth out it one more time myself. And again, polish by feature. I have it here too. And then measure it again. Use the same amount. I'm gonna drag things around to create a fluid contour for this guy. And this time, because this is just a bump going out, so I'm gonna drag it in here first. BDM as Zmodeler. Extrude our polygons out. Right, for the thickness. Drag it around to match it with the contour of this guy here. I don't really want to smooth that. Probably need to make it smoother before I extrude it out. Anyway, so we have this piece now. And you can see the original design have some, oops, I don't even have that there anymore. This one have some, beveling on the top. So I'm gonna grab this guy, and then I'm gonna make it a little smaller by use W, control click on it to mask everything else. Holding Alt and click on that guy to actually turn off symmetry. Alt and click on this guy to center pivot on the masked area. Just scale them down and drag them up. Alright. Maybe make it longer here and go back. So I want the back to be fairly good and the front is actually a little bit slanted. Yeah, I can even have some fun to do some rotation. Alright, cool. And then maybe just for the front part, I'm gonna mask the back also. And I can squeeze the front part in a little bit more. Right. And probably need to have a smoother mask. So I'm gonna smooth this guy. But I also want to mask this part again, so I'm gonna isolate and mask it. And then squeeze it in like this. Alright. Need some tweaking, no problem. Just go use my ZBrush. Smooth this part out. It's hard to do some smoothing when you have a complicated geometry like this, so you can probably go lower subdivision level wise when you're doing zero measure, lower down the poly count so that it's easier, but for now I'm just gonna deal with it. Anyway, and then I'm gonna go BZM and insert edge loop here, insert edge loop over here. Maybe I can bevel this part, I'm not sure yet. Let me bevel this, so I'm gonna go hover the cursor here on the line and do bevel. I'm gonna bevel a edge loop complete as the target so that I can have this line beveled. Okay, so something like this. Right, I was pressing D to smooth preview it. Let's smooth this part out. Anyway, I'm gonna press D to smooth preview it, go back to the original D line. I can push this guy out now. And back here, I think this guy needs to be a little bit higher to match with the contour, with the other piece. It's just this process now to keep adding pieces and delete old pieces, right? So don't want that. For what's happening here, maybe I can give it some cool variations on the back. Maybe I can make it just like this smooth panel here. And I need a little thing up there. Again, I can use the new tool I just introduced last class, right, which is the projective primitive. So I'm gonna go press W again and use that. I'm gonna choose the project primitive and drag this guy up and drag it outwards. And again, make it longer and cut it over there. Smaller this time. Maybe not even that high. As you can see, it's very easy, right? It's a really cool tool, actually. You may overlook it, but it's a good tool. Squeeze it in. And let's see, I maybe need not more resolution over there, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that by dragging one of the things. Okay, which one it is again? Tessellation. Yeah, drag that up so we have better representation, and click on the accept cone, this white one, to accept it. And then I'm gonna go back and delete that guy by going to the gear and say delete. Oops, not there actually. Yeah, that should be good. I don't really worry about that. Anyways, alright, so I have a new piece being created, and in the next one maybe we keep adding the pieces. But I don't know if this is gonna get boring really fast, because we're basically doing the same thing over and over again to, you know, create more and more detailed or clean shapes, eventually block out this entire thing. So maybe next video will be like a mute video with some background music, which is show you the rest of the process, but they're similar things, basically creating patches that we have designed and block out with you know, those different ways. So I'm gonna see you in the next video.